Hey, everybody. All right. My first notes are like, breathe. It's fine. It's a little bit different than doing a Zoom call. I love training. I love training on Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom trainings. It's a little bit different because a lot of times on a Zoom call, you get the person right that like unmuted for a second and then it's actually a black screen. So you're leading a call to a black screen, am I right? To a bunch of people beat them. So I'm like, oh, everybody's looking at me. This is great. I was a little intimidated also. I was glad we switched the schedule a little bit because I was like, man, I have to follow Brittany Howard. And not just because she's so amazing with content, but a couple years ago, Christina was going around the room and she was asking takeaways. Not to talk about this about anything, but if you ask me takeaways, I freeze up. I don't know why, I've always been that way. But I like rambled off something, I'm like, I'm sure that was fine, whatever. And I sat down with Emily, who loves to throw me under the bus, and she, I was the one that threw me out to do that. And I was like, was that okay? And she goes, yeah, except you did the whole thing in a Southern accent. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm an accent chameleon, you want me to follow Brittany Howard, so I'm like, it's totally fine. God wants you to make a lot of money, whatever. That was a Southern, see, I have to follow Brittany in order to do it. So anyways, here's the thing, my disclaimer is I've seen it all, okay? Except Juliet, which is fine, it's coming. I'm actually a diamond, my points just haven't figured that out yet. So, I have seen a lot in this business. I've seen a lot in this industry. I've been doing it for 5 years. When I first got started, I actually hit senior Ruby in the first 8 months. Like I went really, really fast. And it was awesome. I was like, man, this is so easy. I don't understand. Why do you think this is hard? Like this is so easy, right? I had a lot of people jumping on, we had a lot going on. Momentum is fun, momentum is easy. And then I hit really hard stuff. I hit some really hard stuff. And I was literally kissing emeralds, like we were going for it that month. I was just within 100 or 200 points away, and we didn't hit it. And I was like, oh, I just took all the wind out of my sails. I had a bunch of people quit on my team. I was totally knocked out at the knees, and then I dropped down to y'all just about just ranking senior gold. Like I fell very far. Talk about imposter syndrome when you're trying to lead a team call about joy and excitement and all this, and you're like, I dropped over 1,000 points in my business and I'm trying to make it up, So I've had to learn how to like crawl my way back up too. So I've done the fast and exciting and I know what needs to be done differently there. I've also done I have to crawl and I have to work my way, I have to create momentum, I have to do something different besides just throwing something out there and a bunch of people are just jumping on. And I don't know how to onboard all these people, right? So for some of you that are on the BU team, some of this might be familiar because I talk about these same concepts a lot. But that's kind of my point of today is consistency and repetition, right? So marketing, that's what we do. We're in network marketing, and marketing is saying the same thing 100 times, not saying 100 things all at once. That's what marketing is. So it's okay to be consistent. It's okay to be repetitive. It's okay to have the same message and repeat that message over and over and over again. And I have built my business in the last 6 months or so, probably the most solid and sustainable I have ever built my business. And I'm very, very, very happy and comfortable with the growth because now I know if someone joins my team for the business opportunity, I know exactly what to do with them. I know exactly the system to put them into. I know exactly where they're going to go. I know exactly the mindsets to look for. I know exactly the skill sets to look for. I know what to do. And that's exciting because before people would want to join my team, but I'm like, sure, like we're a mess and we're chaotic, we'll figure it out. I don't know, jump in, we'll see if there's a spot for you. I don't know, see if you can make it work. That'd be really great if you could grow my team. And now I'm like, no, I know exactly where we need to put you and I know exactly what we need to do with you. So rule of 7, right? Everybody needs to hear the same thing 7 times before they even hear you. It's gonna be more than that if you actually want them to take action on it. So consistency and repetition is so, so, so important. So I pray about my business a lot. I'm a big believer and I just love the Lord so much. And I really believe that I'm doing this unto the Lord. The CEO of Hobby Lobby actually wrote a book about giving your business up to the Lord and actually operating as if the Lord just gave you this and said, this is fine, run this business for me. You show up a lot differently, right? If you did it that way. So I read that book that kind of changed my perspective a little bit. And I was praying about my business. And to some of you, you've heard this before, but God gave me a vision at the beginning of this year when I was praying about what this is supposed to look like. And he gave me a word called precision, right? So precision was so important. And I was like, all right, Lord, so what is precision? Like, what do you mean by that? And he gave me a vision of me outside, and I was literally just throwing arrows up in the air. I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm not in the right clothing. It is like, there's so much going on, it's just this open field, I was throwing arrows like crazy. I didn't have like a, what do you call it here? Bow, yeah. I didn't have a bow doing it, I was literally chucking arrows in the air, hoping I would hit something. And I was so exhausted, I came home at the end of the day, I had caught nothing, I hadn't hit anything. I was so tired, I was burnt out, I was like, Lord, why are you not bringing me what I need to hit something up in the air? And then it gave me a vision of me standing there in a field, looking at a target, and I had very specific clothing on, I had war paint under my eyes, I had a spear in my hands, a totally different weapon. I had a spear in my hand and I was looking at the target and I knew exactly, I had the muscle memory in my brain, I practiced, I knew exactly what I needed to do to take that spear and chuck it into the target, and I chucked it and I hit it first time. And I walked away and I was like, I hit the big thing and I'm not even tired, I'm not even fatigued. And so I knew the Lord was really working with me on solidifying my systems and renewing them and getting something that's solid and sustainable and simplified. So that's what I wanted to lean into. So you guys are rubies, right? Or you're working on being rubies. So I'm going to talk to you guys as if you are building this as a career, right? We're all trying to do that. We're all trying to build this as a career. We're not just trying to get silver really quick. We're not trying to do any of that. This is not a side gig. We're doing this because we want to do this for the long haul. So I'm going to talk to you as someone who needs to do, or the things that you need to do for the long haul. So the couple things that I really started diving into is like, okay, I need to rewire my brain a little bit. What does that look like? And so I'm going to give you a little bit of like, I have no brain in me whatsoever, like at all. But this was really fascinating to me. So your prefrontal cortex, that's your decision making, right? A lot of times when we sit down and go to work, we feel so overwhelmed with so many decisions that we have to make. We're like, gosh, who do I reach out to? What should my post be about? What do I need to do today? Like, what should I say to my team as I'm trying to coach them? I don't know what to do. And there's a lot of decision making happening when you sit down to work on your business. So one thing that you can do, decision fatigue is very real. So the less decisions you can take off your brain before you get to work, I've noticed a huge switch in that. So whether it's, I make the same breakfast every Monday, right? When I'm gonna be working on Monday, I'm gonna make the same exact breakfast. I don't have to think about what I'm gonna have for breakfast, because that's a decision, even though it's an easy decision, still a decision. I'm gonna lay out my clothes the night before, I'm gonna figure out what my workout is gonna be the next morning. Like, as many of the decisions that you can take off your brain that morning and make it so that when you go to sit down and do your work, you're not decision fatigued, because that is an actual real thing. Your prefrontal cortex does get fatigued if you have too much decision making at once. So take off as much of the decision making as you can, and be intentional when you sit down to do your work on what you're doing. The next thing is I had to work on developing my anterior mid-cingulate cortex. I'm using big words. So that is actually located between the two hemispheres of your brain, and it helps decide what actions are worth your effort, and it weighs effort and reward. Your anterior cingulate cortex actually is, well, not yours, but some of yours actually, but it's actually most developed in CEOs, successful athletes, people that are very successful. They have a very well-developed AMWC, I'm gonna call it that because it's a long word. And so how do you develop that? You actually have to start doing things that are hard or feel hard to do, things that are outside of your comfort zone. That's the only way to develop that. So when you have an undeveloped AMWC, it actually looks for short-term reward, but as you develop it, it actually starts to look for long-term reward. And that's what you need when you're doing a business like this. If you're not looking for short-term rewards, we have a lot of them that are offered as incentives, and that's great, but we're actually looking for that long-term reward. So make sure that you're developing that. That can be through challenging exercise. It can be like public speaking, getting up in the morning. If you don't want to get up in the morning, force yourself to get up just that little bit earlier. Like, do something that's challenging that like you don't necessarily want to do, but you have to force yourself to do it. That's what actually develops that. Now, once you are getting up in the morning and it's actually easy, now you need to figure out something else, right? Because you have to do something that's challenging in order to develop that area of your brain. So then when you sit down, your brain actually starts to look for those long-term rewards. That's what we're developing here. So you can train that part of your brain. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, so it's not, now that you've kind of got your brain work done, now let's be tangible with our systems, what we're doing when we go to work, right? So here's what I really had to do. I had to really hone in on my systems and what my systems looked like. I have gotten some very specific systems that I put in place And a lot of us have seen them, Brittany and Christina put some together. I know Chris and Jean and the Diamonds, but they've been working on some really solid systems. It's not much different than that. But I've been very repetitive with these systems. And here's the thing is once you pick a system that you want to go with, stay with that system, don't change your system, just make tweaks. Because if you have a system, you're like, this is what we're gonna incorporate on our team, this is what we're doing, this is what we're excited for. And then you try it a month and it doesn't work, you're like, well, we're gonna throw that out, we're gonna try a different one that I saw in some other random, videos, and we're gonna try something different. You don't know what that action is gonna look like in the long term unless you give it some time, tweak it, figure it out, right? So once you develop, say, if you have an event, like a Zoom event or a presentation that you wanna do, like, get people to that presentation. If nobody shows up, that's fine. Like, let's still do the presentation, practice it, make a couple tweaks. And then next month, when that presentation comes around and it's time to introduce people to Plexus, make a couple tweaks, try it again. Maybe you'll have a couple more people show up, maybe not, that's okay. Make a couple tweaks on how you're presenting that to people and how you're gonna get people to that. Like, keep doing the system and keep working it. So when we started incorporating our system, it was exactly that. Nobody was showing up except our team. And one, I think it was Kristen and I were like, well, let's practice and let's just record this and see how it goes. And then we set the recording off, like, you just did an amazing meeting. It was so awesome. People were so inspired. Me and Kristen, she was so inspired. And so like people were inspired. Oh my goodness, you need to be part of this. And then people got excited about it watching the recording. Next thing you know, we have a few more people on, a few more recordings are going out. And so that's really a simple thing. We do the same presentation every single time. We do the same, try to get people on those the same way every single time. Our content calendars, okay? That is a very specific, when you're developing your content calendar, which you need to do, if you're not doing it, develop a content calendar, it's gonna make your life 10 times easier. But it should be the same, right? So for me, I might post, like the daily things might be different, but week 1, my goal is to get people on our Plexus preview. Week 2, my goal is to get them into our Legacy Launch Academy, which is like our Silver and 7. Week 3, my goal is to get them into our detox group. And that I just repeat that every single month. And it makes it very easy. If you have a goal each week on why you're posting and who you're posting to and what you're trying to do, it makes it so much easier to sit down and know what you're doing, right? And you know exactly what, and you're actually hitting the people, you're talking to the people that you want to talk to. You can't just show up willy-nilly with no plan, right? Consistency is great, but if you're just grabbing some verbiage and slapping it in and doing all of that for reach outs and follow-ups, that's not gonna hit. Make sure that you're very strategic and organized in how you're recruiting people, how you're talking to people. I feel like I missed something in here. Okay, on that note, I'll say this, if we're talking about precision, when you're doing a reach out, doing like, hey girl, it's been a long time, how you doing? That's not a reach out. Okay, your reach out actually needs to talk about Plexus. That is starting to develop a relationship, that is not an actual reach out. If you're not mentioning Plexus, that's not a real reach out. I would also say if you're doing follow-ups, doing like, hey, did you get my message? That's not a follow-up. If they're not getting new information, then it's not a follow-up. When I say new information, I mean, maybe you send them a testimony, or maybe you invite them to your Plexus preview, maybe you invite them to your Legacy Launch Academy, maybe you're inviting them to the business opportunity. Maybe you're inviting them to a wellness event that you're doing. Maybe you're, whatever that is, find something new to add value to them, not, hey, did you do that homework? Did you watch that video? Did you actually see my message? That sounds needy and salesy and gross, and nobody wants to be part of that. But if you're out adding value and giving more information, that is legitimate follow-up. Okay, I gotta wrap up, but I'm gonna go really quick. So what we need to do for precision and consistency is, I'm going back to that vision that I had. Because now we got systems in place, we rewired our brain, we're ready to go, right? So the first thing is you have to know your target, okay? John Maxwell says that your vision needs to be repeated daily in order for people to actually catch on to it. So talk to one person every day about your vision. Where are you going? What are you trying to do? What's your goal? If you're just like, well, I'm just gonna see where the Lord takes me on this journey, you're not gonna go very far, because you have to set a goal. You have to know exactly what you're trying to do, where you're trying to reach, what rank do you want to be by what month? You know, you have to set that and then go through and figure out what rank you need to be or what your points need to be leading up to that. You've got to have a roadmap and strategy and a goal. You have to know what your target is. And who's your target audience? Who are you talking to? If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. So for me, my target audience is a mom who maybe intended to have a career someday, but then just ended up, being a stay-at-home mom, but has something deep down inside of her that she knows that she wants to do. She's got more, right? She has a purpose. She wants that professional, career woman lifestyle, but she really just loves her babies and wants to be a mom. That's my target audience. So every time I post, I'm speaking to that person. If I'm not speaking to that person, I'm talking to nobody. You have to keep your eyes on the target. So learn to love your authentic self. Guys, I'm quirky, I mix up words all the time. I'm like, you just have to be like, just get comfortable with your authentic self and make it fun. Be comfortable with your authentic self and then don't compare. Don't look at where other people are shooting, where their targets are, how fast they're hitting their targets. Don't look to the left or the right. It's your own target. And if you ever want to hit that target, you have to keep your eyes on your own target. Number 3, learn from someone who's mastered that target, and lean on that for accountability, personal growth. I know that there's, and try to have just like one person that you run everything through. It's so easy. I think someone brought this, I think Fallon brought this up earlier. To be like, oh, I'm gonna take this course with this person because this is the course that's gonna answer all of my questions. And this course over here, they're offering this, and this is gonna be what gets me to diamond. This course, and you're like doing this, and you're not actually nailing down a system, having one person keeping you accountable, one person that's mastered the target that you're trying to get to. Think of a coach who's trying to coach you on how to hit that target. And that's fine. Like if you want to take a course over here to like maybe get better at systems or whatever, that's great. Run that through your coach and see how that applies to your technique and your specific target and what you're trying to hit. Know your weapon. Y'all are rubies, okay? We're working on social media, most of us. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I just, throw things on Facebook and see what happens. You have to know social media. You have to start to learn social media. You have to understand the changing social media. You have to understand that there's an algorithm to social media, right? There's a certain way that you do your work. And I think that you can do a great job up until you hit gold. I feel like once you hit ruby, and for anybody who's not ruby yet, maybe lean into this a little bit. You'll just be pros by the time you hit ruby already. But if you're ruby, you need to start knowing exactly what you're doing when you get on social media. You have to know your plan, your strategy, what you're trying to do, know algorithms, and be in charge of that. Don't just post and pray and run away and hope that something happens. We're not grabbing this person's, I don't want to make a post today, so I'm gonna grab this person's post and paste it and move on. Like, stop copy and pasting. I say that with love. Stop copy pasting, okay? You can grab something that's good and maybe tweak it, but be yourself, be your authentic self. Post strategically on social media. What value do you add? You have to get to know know you as a person, know what value you add on social media. We talk about niches and all this. I'm not even gonna go into that. Just what value do I have to add, right? Right now, mine is like, I'm a mom that's crazy with dance stuff and whatever, so I'm posting quick meals or I'm posting like, whatever, like I add value in like a busy mom life. There's something that you have that you can add value to. Show up to practice or your work with a skill that you want to sharpen, okay? So if you're going to hit that target, maybe you've got, your stance and everything down, that's fine, but now I need to know how to like wind up my shoulder, right? So this is something like, I am in my back office and I know how to recruit, but I'm not sure how to develop silvers. You need to show up to work ready to start learning how to develop silvers. Okay, that's your focus. Show up every day knowing what that skill is. And then the last thing, and it's not sexy, it is not fun, and I wish I could get up here and tell you the secret as to like what has made us instantly, feel so much more successful. There is no secret. It's just that you have to practice. You have to be consistent. You have to show up every single day. Do your IPA every single day. Like I said, this is not the sexy part. This is the part that nobody sees. When you see a diamond walk across the stage, you see all the lights and the glamour, but you don't see the work that they put in. You're not seeing that they were late at night doing their IPA or getting up super early to do their IPA. Everybody in this room has the same amount of time. Everybody in this room has the same, we all have things we have to work through. Get your IPA done every single day. I know it's boring, but it's what works. You have to apply it, okay? You have to actually apply stuff. And then, so if you're working, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling like, I just keep showing up, but I'm not going anywhere. It's likely because your focus needs to be sharpened. You actually need to sharpen your skills. You need to sharpen your systems. You need to be more precise in what you're doing. Because I do believe that consistency with precision is your pathway to sustainable growth. Thank you.